Welcome back to our best practices video. In this video, we will be focusing on third grade division models. My name is Stephanie Bowen. Let's get started. What do you notice and what do you wonder as you look at this picture? Students will likely pick up on that there are a lot of cookies and that there are two students. Often you might be thinking, well, how many cookies will I get? And this, of course, is division, when we have a total amount of something and we're dividing it equally. We could also ask the students what might happen if another friend comes and how would that change the number of cookies that they receive. And this unit, we will be looking at strategies to understand and model division. Let's take a look at the learning goals for this unit of study. Students need to understand that multiplication and division are related operations. Students will explore division with divisors up to 12, interpreting the dividend as the amount that can be equally divided to find the number of groups or the number in each group. Students will solve two types of division problems, as stated above, either finding the number of groups or the number in each group. Students will restate a division problem as a missing factor problem using the relationship between multiplication and division. As we visit classrooms, we want to see students engaged in modeling division with manipulatives. In this first problem, the student knows the total and knows the number of groups represented by the paper plates, and the student is finding how many are in each group. In our second example, the amount in each group is known, and the student is dividing to find the number of groups. We also want to make sure that students are writing the corresponding division equation to match their model. Students will also be modeling with arrays or equal rows to show what's happening in the problem. Tape diagrams or a bar model is another way that students can model division. In addition to these models, students will also be comparing two expressions to see if they're equal or not. The first step in this would be making a model to show each of the problems. Once the model is made, students will then make a drawing or representation of what's happening, solving each equation, and finally deciding if each side is equal. Is the equality true or false? Let's take a look at some of these math chat questions that can drive student discussion in the classroom. Notice that these questions are open-ended and are encouraging students to connect their model to the equation. We want questions like, what happens when you divide, so that students can explain their understanding of what division means. We also want questions that help students relate multiplication and division. These types of questions will help students demonstrate MTR 4 and 5. Here is a list of vocabulary words that we would want to hear both teachers and students using as they talk about the mathematics in this unit. This vocabulary list is also available to parents in the Parents Letter on STEMscopes. Here are some examples of how students will demonstrate their knowledge about division. We can see here that students will be first creating models with manipulatives and then recording those models with a drawing and relating it to equations. Students can be solving to find both the amount in each group or the amount of groups. These examples that you see here are from STEMscopes Explore student journals and exit tickets. Here are some sample questions that students could be asked if you're visiting classrooms to gauge their understanding. These questions can also be found on the MathSmarts website or by clicking on the benchmark links in the units of study. Related facts is an example of an at-home activity that parents can find in the parent letter. For this activity, students take two dice. When they roll the dice, those are the two factors, and then they find all of the related multiplication and division equations, or the equations that would be in the fact family. They can also set maybe a number of points to make it a little more competitive. Thank you for joining us for this best practices video focused on division models. We'll see you for the next unit.